When Resident Evil 7 was first announced, everyone and their parents were talking about it. It was a much needed return to its survival horror roots, it was scary in first person, and it brought a fresh set of characters. I completed the game twice and also watched 2 or 3 streamers that I used to watch beat the game and its DLCs since I never owned them myself. And while I enjoyed it the first time and thought it was an okay title, I honestly didn't thought much of it. The graphics and the engine were great. I liked the bakers and the southern horror atmosphere. The weapons felt nice and the puzzles were okay in my opinion too. On the contrary, I didn't like Ethan or Mia. The story with Evelyn felt cliche-ish even for Resident Evil. The lack of regular enemies bothered me because I didn't find them all to be very interesting. I didn't like some of the holes in the story, the boat section was not very enjoyable. Ethan's mighty arm and insatiable need to apply Gatorade to his wrist always troubled me. I thought people gave too much credit to the introduction sequence when Silent Hill 2 pulled a similar trick back in 2001. And the decision regarding the serum mid-game felt forced and pointless. That brings us to the present. 5 years after its original release and having experienced a change in the way I interact with video games, I could finally appreciate some of its strong points. Why I was wrong. The meticulous attention to the scenery and objects is truly stellar. The gameplay feels nicer, it's claustrophobic and a little reminiscent of the older titles. The animations are pretty good and the way you interact with the Baker Ranch and the Metroidvania-like progression feels good. And for some inexplicable reason, I think you can appreciate Ethan's personality a little bit more. And the effort they made to make him a slightly more down-to-earth and relatable person was a good decision. And also, it's worth noticing that it is the first proper relationship portrayed in the series. Knowing more about the development cycle of this title sparked some sort of love for it as well. It was short, focused with a degree of freedom, with a considerably limited staff. It suffered no delays, and the way they handled the production of assets in a similar fashion to a tiny factory, where modelers and animators worked closely so assets were finished sooner, and didn't need much work after, only to be placed like Lego pieces was surprising to me. The tiny notes filled with lore and the environmental storytelling details were greatly appreciated too. Classic elements like item crafting and management via the limited inventory space, traditional puzzles, boss fights, and different atmospheres and styles throughout the game truly makes this a fun and enjoyable title, and I can certainly understand why now. This game is a little bit more than speedrunning material and goofy action sequences. The art direction of this game is pretty remarkable too. You can feel the amount of love that the team behind this game put into. And the music is so good and fitting. And also Resident Evil 7 continues with the tradition of including hella good safe room music. It's dark but calming at the same time. The opening hours are so damn good and well put together, and the pop culture references like Evil Dead, Ethan's White Challenger, the found footage style of storytelling, and even tiny details like the classic RE inventory sounds are all pretty neat things. Conclusion. Although I think it is worth mentioning that some of the criticism regarding Resident Evil 7 still stands, I still believe that the lack of variety in enemies does hurt the game, and the molded are certainly uninteresting. They become an obstacle more than anything else. The serum decision still feels forced and unnecessary considering the addition of the End of Zoe DLC. The final boss is good to look at but not very enjoyable in any significant way. The fact that Ethan is infected was misused in my humble opinion. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with that. And the inventory system doesn't necessarily make the game difficult as it used to. It's pretty generous and you will rarely find yourself in trouble because of it. RE7 truly revigorized the franchise. It was a generally well-received game, and Resident Evil 8 followed in its footsteps too and found a similar level of success. And I think this is good for the fans and the industry in general. On a personal note, I hope we can see more of our classic and beloved heroes, since I do miss them and I want to see how they continue the story of this lore-packed, long-running series of games. It's fair to say that I was generally wrong about it. Thank you for watching this shorter video. Please consider supporting my Patreon as it does help me a lot. And if you want to support me on a more personal way, please be sure to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and here you can watch some of my other videos. Take care.